Welcome to another edition of the Dublin Coffman Marching Band Network. If you enjoy this series, please like and subscribe so that you can learn more about our amazing graduates. I am here with a 1988 graduate of Dublin High School, Terri Gossard. How are you, Terri?
I'm doing great, Jeremy. Thanks for having me today.
I'm excited to talk to you about your journey. You graduated with your doctorate from Ohio State in optometry, and through that, you have spent your career working with children and adults in a vocation that just means so much to my family, but also to everyone involved that you come across. I wanted to kind of break down, once you graduated from Dublin High School, you went off to Miami University, and it sounds like from a previous discussion that maybe you weren't thinking exactly going into the profession. Can you talk about your undergraduate college journey?
Sure, absolutely. Well, I always gravitated as a high school student towards the biological sciences. They interested me. It kind of came easy to me. It fit my brain. So I went to Miami thinking I want to play in that space, not sure if I want to go to medical school. What is this optometry business? And as it turns out, my mother, who is very nearsighted, was actually one of the first contact lens patients at Ohio State. The profession itself isn't that old, and she was actually fit for a pair of contact lenses as a child by a physicist because we didn't have optometrists at the time. So she thought, maybe you should look into this. So I did, but while I was at Miami, I thought, well, what kind of degree am I going to get here? And I thought, maybe I should, instead of just getting a science degree, why don't I look into something that would result in a license or a certification that would allow me to do something in case I didn't go to optometry school. So I settled in education, and while I was taking my education classes, which I loved and learned and lean on so heavily even today, I also took the science classes that made sure that they put me into the right pre-curricula to make sure I got into optometry school. Student taught 7th grade science, got scared straight, and went straight into optometry school after Miami.
So then you went to Ohio State and you graduated with 2 degrees at the same time, your master's and your doctorate. Can you talk us through what that was all about?
Sure. Well, optometry is a 4-year postgraduate experience, so there is a 4-year curricula. But they also had an opportunity that if you could demonstrate proficiencies in certain areas, to take a concurrent program where you would get your master's during the process. So extra classes, extra seminars, a thesis defense, and I was able to, at the end of the 4 years, get my doctorate in optometry, but also get ready for this, master's in physiological optics. I studied stereo acuity and small angle strabismics. Say that 3 times.
So, talk us through now. You spent 20 years or so working with patients. We see, for all of us who've been to visit our eye doctor, we see the going through the eye chart and all the fancy mechanisms that they come up with. But talk us through, what are the things that we don't see about the profession that our students might be interested in?
Yeah, no, and thanks for that, Jeremy. We were chatting a little bit earlier. People don't always think about optometry. If it weren't for my mother, I don't know that I would have gone into this profession. So what is it? Who are we, and what do we do? Well, I like to tell people optometrists are the primary eye care providers for your eyes. I'm actually married to a family physician. I see a lot of parallels. That family physician, by the way, Jeremy, is your old squad leader. So we could talk a little bit about that later. But nonetheless, primary care for the eyes. So not only do we treat and diagnose vision disorders, so help you see better with glasses, contact lenses, any type of refractive recommendations when it comes to surgery, but we also do treat and manage eye health and eye disease. So a lot of people think you go to the eye doctor when, there's something, I can't see the board or I can't focus on a page, but it's very critical that we make sure that Americans know that the yearly comprehensive eye exam is where a lot of undiagnosed medical disorders can actually be found. We could talk about the eyes being the window to the soul. There's hundreds of diseases that just by dilating your eyes and taking a look inside, doctors of optometry can really clue in on to things that are going on throughout your whole body. It's the only place where you can see a blood vessel directly without cutting it open. So a lot of cardiovascular diseases are found this way, neurological disorders, autoimmune diseases often present in the eye. Goodness, even COVID oftentimes presents in the eye for the first time symptomatically. So it should be a part of everybody's annual checkup. We talk about kids going back to school, students getting ready for high school. You get your new shoes, you get your new clothes, you get your books. You need to get your eyes checked too.
And after those 20 years, you have transitioned into, I can't say a more important role because I'm sure your patients would disagree. But now it sounds like you have a different day-to-day activity. Can you talk us through what your career is like now?
Yeah, no, that's a good question. And I did struggle. I mean, I love patient care. But one of the things I get to do now is actually affect patient care for just not my own patients, but a whole host of patients. And I do that a couple ways. I serve as the Director of Professional Affairs for the Midwest region of Cincinnati Eye Institute Vision Partners. Long story short, this is a multidisciplinary practice, optometrists and ophthalmologists. And how do we make sure that all patients that are sent to us receive world-class eye care and then get back into their community, but to their referral partners, their optometric medical homes. I also have the privilege of serving on the board of the American Optometric Association. After being a past president of the Ohio Optometric Association, I discovered one of my passions was talking to people that actually had influence over how I practiced optometry. So that's our legislators, our state and federal representatives and senators. That's our policymakers like the FTC and the FDA, and our payers like CMS that writes the Medicare checks. They need to understand, again, the importance of eye care, the importance of optometry, and how optometrists personally have the answer to a lot of healthcare delivery solutions that the world's facing right now. We've got 33% more people needing eye care as the baby boom goes up, but for instance, ophthalmology is only growing at 3%. Optometrists, we're all over the state of Ohio, for instance, in all 88 counties, and there's easy access points. So how do we make sure that patients that need our care can get to us? So that's the stuff that I get excited about and go to work to do every day.
Well, speaking of getting excited, that actually leads into my next question. You've had two different, major aspects of your career. Can you tell our students and our band family, what was it about, being in the office and the practicing physician? What did you enjoy most about those days?
My mom always likens it to playing golf. A lot of times you're slogging away and you're like, why do I play this silly game? And then every so often you hit that great golf shot and you're like, oh, I'll do this again, And I think patient care can be that way. A lot of times it's taxing. Boy, I talk to my colleagues in any kind of medical career right now with the COVID protocols and things, they're exhausted, they're tired. But when you see the difference you can make, and it can be saving someone's life from the disease of glaucoma, diagnosing it when they didn't know they were going blind, and managing it and preventing that from happening, to the first pair of glasses that you put on a kid and suddenly they see there's leaves on the tree, to working with a child that wants to improve their ability to hit the baseball, giving them vision therapy techniques that track to improve their performance. There's so many aspects to help children read better, quicker, and for better comprehension. You're making an impact with every single patient that you see. So it's that golf swing that I was talking about where you just hit it 300 yards.
Well, I'm an avid golfer, so if you want to talk about that, this might be an hour-long session. But Going back to your high school days, you were a senior when I was a freshman, and we both had Dr. Keller, someone we admired greatly. And I always like to try to ask our graduates, when you went through the band program here and you went through the leadership training that Dr. Keller provided and the life lessons that you learned, what are some life lessons that stick with you to this day in regards to things that you learned through the Dublin High School band program?
Yeah, it's just, I could talk on this for an hour, quite frankly. That being said, I'm so glad my children went through a high school band program that was similar, because I just got the chance to rewatch it again. So some of that is kind of fresh in my mind. I think, there's the easy things, right? To be early is to be on time. To be on time is to be late. So never be late, always be early. That's very obvious. I think as I was reflecting on that topic, though, I thought my biggest takeaway was to lead by example. I know as a squad leader, I never sat down on the field, even when we were taking a break. You always run it back, and I could not ask my squad to do things that I wasn't doing myself, and I think that's how you build a team that is going to do anything for you. I'm proud to say we were the first row to get a perfect 10. I don't know if you're still doing that on the pregame evaluations or however that all worked, but it's because we all cared, and it was not because I was telling them to do stuff, but it was because I was leading by example, and I think that was instilled in me very early by Dr. Keller, and truly I see that in work today. I run a team of field specialists that are out and about, but I'm out in the field today. I'm in a hotel room this morning because I'm making some calls on doctors of optometry. Actually, here in Columbus, I'm down in Grove City, come to speak of it. But they're willing to do the work because they see their leaders doing the work, and I truly think that that's a takeaway that'll serve you well in any field that you go into.
Well, I appreciate you speaking with us today. The last question that I love to ask our graduates is, when you were faced with the hot days of Camp Bountiful and the hot days out on our practice field, maybe as a freshman and sophomore, you might have maybe questioned, why are you in this activity? What is it that this activity could lead to? And now with a perspective of looking back on the lessons that you just talked about, what would an older Terri tell the younger Terri? Hey, this is worth it. What are the things that you would look and maybe say to yourself to stick with being in the band program?
Yeah, nothing that is truly worthwhile is usually very easy. One of my favorite quotes, I've got a child that is incredibly history proficient, and to the point where he was actually going to history bowls on a local and then national level, and he got his clock cleaned at one of them. He didn't really prepare and whatnot, and he's near tears because he was only in middle school at the time. And my husband leaned over and he said, he needs the man in the arena speech. And I'm like, what's the man in the arena speech? So I thank Ted for this, but it was, it's Teddy Roosevelt, and it's been said a lot, but my take homes that I get from that is it's better to be dirty and bloodied on the sidelines than to not know the thrill of victory or anything, but be a cold, person sitting on the sidelines and judging. And I'm totally paraphrasing, so sorry, Teddy Roosevelt. That being said, try, get out there, and you will fail. Abraham Lincoln failed 12 times before he ever was elected to anything, and look what he did. So it's better to be battled and bloodied. And I tell you, some of those Camp Bountifuls, my freshman year, we couldn't even hold an end of year show because it was so hot. Gatorade wasn't invented yet, so we were guzzling salt water, and they just sent everybody home at the end of the thing because it was, there were ambulances that were coming every day. I think your brother might have been in the band with me at that time. So, yes, keep working, keep your eye on the prize, because then I'll still never forget, what it feels to step out onto the field for this first time, hit that note, and have people turn around from the stands and look back and look, what is going on over there? So, you reap what you sow.
Well, Dr. Terri Gossard, it has been my privilege to speak with you. Your class means the world to me, and your husband means the world to me as well. Being my squad leader when I was a freshman, I think of him often, and thinking about the ways that he helped me make my transition into this high school an easy one. So thank you for spending time with me, talking to our kids and our band family about your career. And thank you so much for joining us today.
Appreciate your time and keep this up. This is a great initiative. So proud of you, Jeremy.
Thank you.